Okay, y'all know how we've all been sitting here wondering, now how in the hell could Maria Machado, with her past that has now come to light, how could she possibly have won the Nobel Peace Prize? You guys, I did some digging, and I'm going to be totally honest with you. My perception of what the Nobel Peace Prize meant is completely shattered. So if you want to hear my working theory about why Maria Machado actually won the Nobel Peace Prize, stick around. So I should lead by saying that apparently taking millions of dollars from the United States, praising someone who's engaged in a genocide, and having a history that involves being part of a coup is not a deal breaker for the Nobel Peace Committee. Let's go back in time to October 10th, where the grand halls of Oslo glitter under the chandeliers, and the Nobel Peace Prize goes to Maria Corina Machado. And the press is over here gushing about her fight for democracy, but in the corners of that marble room, the real diplomats whisper, this isn't about peace, it's a power move. Rewind back to 2002. Venezuela. Hugo Chavez just nationalized Venezuela's oil company, cutting off a direct artery for profit for Western corporations. That's when Maria Machado, an NGO called Sumate, enters the picture. Publicly, it was about democracy. Privately, declassified documents show that it was bankrolled by Washington's National Endowment for Democracy. Then came the coup. April 11, 2002, in Venezuela, tanks rolling through the streets, generals switching sides, absolute mayhem. And Machado signs the Carmona Decree, a document which didn't just oppose Chavez, it absolutely erased the Constitution. Of course, that coup collapsed in 48 hours. Guys, you need to know this to understand the rest of it. And she later claimed that it was just a sign-in sheet, but the treason charge never really left her name. Now fast forward to 2024. Maduro's barely holding on. Trump is back in power, and Machado is on CNN demanding that the U.S. stop recognizing this regime. And she talks about change by the people, but behind that language is a call for sanctions, isolation, and of course, military liberation. And right on cue, she's given the Nobel Peace Prize. You can almost hear the oil rigs revving. Okay, before I give you the big plot twist, don't forget to like, repost, and follow for updates, and leave the words, Nobel isn't about peace in the comment section. Also, you guys, seriously, go follow me over on YTube at the same name. Because of the things I'm talking about, we all know what might happen to me here on TikTok or even in real life. Okay, that was dark. Now let's talk about the part that nobody's saying out loud and you're not going to hear on the news. For decades, Venezuela under Chavez and Maduro is openly pro-Palestine. Now, I heard the light bulbs go on in all your heads too, cause same. And of course, they stand against Israel's occupation and they partner closely with Iran. Guys, it wasn't just ideology, it was economics. Venezuela sold oil to Tehran, China, and Russia. It was part of that emerging multipolar world, pushing back on Western control. It's starting to come into focus now. But Machado would flip that script entirely. Right after October 7th, she declared full solidarity with Tel Aviv and even called Netanyahu to praise his military actions. Why does that matter? So if Maduro is pro-Palestine and Machado is pro-Israel, you see putting Machado in charge of Venezuela in shifting Venezuela away from Iran, away from BRICS, and right back into Washington's orbit, where of course the oil will flow west, not east. So a pro-Israel, pro-US Venezuela isn't about peace. It's about tightening the Western energy bloc and cutting it off from its competitors like Russia and China. And of course, that's the real prize that Oslo, Norway, just handed out. Okay, so now on to the Nobel. The Nobel Peace Prize is awarded by the Norwegian Nobel Committee, 5 members handpicked by Norway's parliament. Sounds innocent, right? Until you remember that Norway's parliament is deeply tied to NATO. Norway isn't a neutral peacekeeper. It's a founding NATO member. It hosts American submarines, joint Arctic defense operations, and spends billions aligning its policies with Washington and Brussels. When people ask why Norway would honor someone who literally signed a coup decree, the answer isn't mystery, it's alignment. Because NATO's interests are Western interests, and in this instance, NATO's Western bloc. US, the UK, and of course, Israel. They all share one goal: keep the world unipolar, meaning one bloc in charge of the whole world, as opposed to multipolar, which would mean that you have G7 and then the BRICS countries. Keep control of all the energy routes, and definitely keep nations like Venezuela from becoming independent power centers tied to Iran, Russia, or China. So the Nobel Committee didn't ignore Maria Machado's past, they rewarded it. Her Nobel Peace Prize wasn't for peace, it was for loyalty. And before anybody goes and says, oh, no, that's not how the Nobel Peace Prize works, let's go back to just one point in history. The Nobel Peace Prize was designed by Alfred Nobel to basically reward people who promote fraternity between nations, etc. But let's go back to 1973 for 1 second, where Henry Kissinger wins the Nobel Peace Prize for ending the Vietnam War, while his secret bombing campaigns were still leveling Cambodia and Laos. Hundreds of thousands of civilians dead. Entire regions poisoned by Agent Orange. And Kissinger walks away with the Nobel, highest symbol of peace. And 2 of the committee members resigned in protest, but the award still stood. And that was the moment that the Nobel Peace Prize went from being about peace to being about power. And Machado's 2025 win is just the current version of that playbook. In case anyone needed an answer to how the hell the Nobel Committee could have known all of that and still given her the Peace Prize, pretty sure that sums it up. And I'll just add this to a long and never-ending list of shit that 2025 has disillusioned me of. What about you guys? Do you think that the Nobel Peace Prize is worth a shit at this point? Let me know in the comments.